Okay, so let's get right into it. For so many of us, Ramadan comes and goes, and it feels, well, more like we're just changing our meal times than having some kind of life-altering experience. But what if it's meant to be a complete revolution of the self? In this explainer, we're going to dig into the incredible ideas from the book Those Who Are Not Yet Born, which totally reframes this month as this intense 30-day journey toward a real spiritual rebirth.
And it all starts with this one big question, right? Why has Ramadan become just a habit for so many of us? Just a routine we go through year after year without any real lasting change. The author just confronts this head on, basically saying we're missing the entire point.
So this journey begins at a place the author calls the beginning, the closed door. And this is all about facing the hard truth that we often approach this month on the surface level, with our hearts basically sealed shut.
Look at it this way. The author presents two totally different versions of Ramadan. On one hand, you've got the appearance. It's become a season for shopping, for entertainment, really just a different eating schedule. But then there's the essence, what it's meant to be. A revolution of your soul, a time for deep spiritual connection, and, get this, a chance for a complete rebirth.
Now, based on that, the author gives some pretty shocking advice, a really powerful warning. Don't open for it. The idea here is, look, if you're just going to welcome Ramadan in the same old way, without actually involving your heart, you're better off not even starting. It's like having a guest of honor at your door, but you never actually let them inside your home. A totally wasted opportunity.
And this gets to the very core of the problem. The author uses this beautiful metaphor. Your heart isn't just an organ, it's a whole world of unexplored continents, maybe even entire galaxies that you've never even visited. But guarding the entrance, there's this rusty lock, covered in cobwebs from years and years of neglect. So Ramadan arrives, but it can't get in.
So if the heart's locked up, how do we find the key? Well, that brings us to the second part of our story, the journey, the divine invitation. And this is where the whole perspective just flips. That struggle of fasting, it's reframed. It's not a hardship. It's a beautiful, deliberate invitation from God.
And this is where we get this incredible concept of the divine trap. Now, it's not what it sounds like. It's this beautiful strategy where hunger and thirst aren't meant to be punishments at all. Nope. They're actually the bait on a divine hook, designed to pull us away from all our distractions and lure us back to God, to let us taste what the author calls the sweetness of closeness.
And the whole point of this trap is just so profound. It's to get you to taste that spiritual light, that feeling of closeness, just one time. Because that experience is so pure, so transformative, that it's meant to completely change your spiritual palate forever. After tasting that light, the swamp of sin and distraction you were living in all year long, it just becomes totally unappealing.
But here's the thing, you're not meant to do this journey alone. The author really stresses the incredible power of praying together, of collective worship. In that group prayer, your individual, kind of weak I, with all its fears and doubts, it just dissolves into this powerful collective we. And that unity, it creates a kind of spiritual fortress, making you so much stronger than you could ever be on your own.
This collective journey also completely redefines our whole idea of status. I mean, the world tells us the elite are millionaires and celebrities, right? People whose power is in their wealth. But the author introduces us to the true elite, a spiritual 1% class. These aren't the people you see in magazines. These are the ones who stand before God at dawn while the rest of the world is asleep. Their power doesn't come from a bank account. It begins with this simple, humble act of prostration.
And now we've arrived at the final act, the climax of this whole journey, the end, the new birth. This is where things get really urgent, because that window of opportunity, it's closing, and it's closing fast.
You have to think of Ramadan like an hourglass. The sand is just slipping away. The days are numbered, and they pass by so quickly. You start your ascent on day 1, and before you know it, you're at the summit, at that final decisive moment on day 30. The opportunity is fleeting, and every single second counts.
This whole countdown leads to what might be the book's most powerful metaphor. The morning of Eid, that festival that marks the end of Ramadan, is described as the door to a delivery room. You see, after 30 days of spiritual labor, you're about to emerge. But the outcome, well, it's not guaranteed.
And this leads to a stark, really unavoidable question. What is going to come through that door?
Is it a new person, someone cleansed and reborn through worship? Or is it a stillborn fetus, a soul that just went through the motions but never actually came to life, missing the entire chance for transformation?
So, the final choice is laid out right in front of you. You could emerge reborn with a completely new direction for your life. Or, the alternative, the author warns, is to just go back to your old ways, to eventually become like trivial grass growing over a forgotten grave, leaving no impact, no legacy, no trace that you ever truly lived.
And so, we end with the question the book wants to leave you with. A question that just echoes long after you finished reading. It's a challenge. It's a personal inventory check. It's the ultimate purpose of this entire journey. Have you been born yet?
I want you to picture a scenario. It's a scenario most of us have been in one way or another. You have a guest coming over, and not just a casual friend dropping by. This is the VIP. The guest you've waited a whole year to see.
The kind of guest where you don't just tidy up. You, renovate the whole house.
Exactly. You scrubbed everything. You've stocked the fridge with the good stuff. Decorations are up. You are standing at the door, hand on the handle, ready to throw it wide open.
Right.
But then your phone buzzes. It's a text from a mentor you trust. And the text is just 4 words. Do not open the door.
That would stop you cold. It feels rude, doesn't it?
It feels incredibly rude and confusing. But this is exactly where Dr. Ahmed Khairy Al-Omari starts the book we're diving into today.
The book is titled Those Who Have Not Been Born Yet.
And the guest he's talking about, it's Ramadan.
Right. And just for context, Ramadan is the holy month in the Islamic calendar.
Yeah.
A time of fasting from dawn to sunset, and it's usually welcomed with huge celebrations and community gatherings.
Which makes Al-Omari's opening so shocking. He's basically saying, stop, don't let it in, not yet.
Yeah.
If you open that door right now, you're making a mistake.
It's such a provocative hook, but that's his style. He's not saying go away. He's saying if you open that door with the same mindset you had last year and the year before that, you aren't actually welcoming the guest.
You're just repeating a script.
You're just repeating a script. He wants to dismantle this whole idea that the month is just a habit.
So today we are unpacking those who have not been born yet. And I want to be clear, this isn't a rule book. We're not going to talk about the technical rules of fasting or anything like that.
No, this is much more of a psychological dissection. Al-Omari is a thinker who likes to break things down.
Yeah.
He's looking at the psychology of why we, as humans, fail to change.
And he frames this month not as a ritual, but as a delivery room for the soul.
Which brings us to that title, Those Who Have Not Been Born Yet. It's such a haunting phrase.
It really is. It implies there are people walking around, living their lives who haven't actually been born.
Spiritually, yes. They're still in the womb of the mundane. They're existing, but they aren't alive in the sense Al-Omari means. And the whole point of this book is to figure out, how to induce labor.
So let's go back to that first command. Do not open the door. This is the first station in the book. Why is he telling us to keep the door locked? What are we doing wrong?
He's confronting what he calls the trap of appearances. I mean, think about the week before any major holiday. What does the grocery store look like?
It's a war zone, absolute chaos, panic buying. It looks like the apocalypse is coming, but with more pastries.
Exactly. Al-Omari calls this the consumer season. He argues that we've transformed a time meant for discipline into this festival of consumption.
He has this really visceral imagery in the book, doesn't he?
It's almost grotesque. He says we slice our wallets open to buy food, we prop our mouths open to devour it, and we pry our eyes open to binge-watch TV shows.
The irony is just wild. The month of not eating is statistically when people buy the most food.
It's the ultimate distraction, the consumer season par excellence. And that's the whole rationale behind his warning.
Right.
He argues that if you open the door to Ramadan while you're in that frenzy, you're only opening the door to your pantry. You aren't opening the door to your heart.
So the warning is basically, don't insult the guest.
Precisely. He writes, a Ramadan that does not enter the heart is a lost Ramadan. If your plan is to do all this while your heart is, as he says, out of the calculation,
Not even part of the equation.
not even part of it, then it's a total waste of time. You're just starving yourself for 30 days.
And nobody wants to be hungry for no reason.
Right. So he's challenging you to just pause. Don't open the door until you figure out where the guest is supposed to go.
Okay, so let's say we put down the shopping bags, we decide, okay, I want to open the door to the heart instead, but Al-Omari suggests that's not as easy as just turning a handle.
No, because the door is jammed.
Yeah.
This brings us to the second station, the internal landscape. He asks us to look inside, and he describes the human heart not as a pump, but as a geography.
I have the quote right here. He calls it a world of dark caves and galaxies that have never been trodden.
Isn't that evocative?
Yeah.
It suggests that you are this vast, unexplored continent. You have parts of you, your fears, your potential, that are totally uncharted territory.
But there's a problem getting in.
A big one. The entry point to those continents has a rusty lock.
A rusty lock. That implies it hasn't been touched in a very, very long time.
Years, maybe decades. He says we've abandoned our internal selves for so long that spiders have spun webs over the mechanism. We're just so busy with the external world, the job, the phone, the news, that the internal door has completely rusted shut.
You know, this really hits home for me because honestly, I think sometimes we keep that door locked on purpose. It's scary to look into those dark caves.
Oh, 100%. It's so much easier to just watch Netflix. It's safer on the surface. But Al-Omari says, if you want this spiritual birth, you can't be gentle. You can't just wiggle the key.
You have to smash the lock.
You have to smash it.
How? What's the hammer?
The hammer is disrupting what he calls religious folklore.
Folklore. That's such an interesting choice of words. It sounds like fairy tales.
Well, in this context, he means mindless tradition.
Yeah.
You know, the mechanics of religion without the soul. Stand up, sit down, starve, eat.
When you do it because that's just what we do.
Exactly. Or that's what my parents did. He says it's folklore, it's dead. He wants to replace that with a living connection. It's about forcing yourself into those forbidden zones of the self that we usually just ignore.
So the physical act of fasting, the hunger, the fatigue, it's not just a ritual in itself. It's meant to be the force that breaks the lock.
Yes. The disruption of your normal biological routine is meant to shock the system enough to break all that rust, which leads perfectly to the third station. Because most people look at the hunger as the cost of the month. Like, I have to pay this hunger tax to be a good person.
I'm suffering, so it must be working.
Right. But Al-Omari just flips it. He calls the hunger a divine trap, or a hook.
Calling a holy month a trap seems pretty bold. Usually if someone says it's a trap, I run the other way.
It is bold. But think of it less like a trap and more like an intervention or a marketing funnel. He uses the metaphor of a grand sale season.
Like everything must go.
Exactly. Imagine a store where everything is 99% off. The trap is the offer you can't refuse. He says the divine is luring you in with these massive rewards. He writes, paradise is offered at the cheapest prices, just to get you through the door.
So the rewards are the bait.
The rewards get you in. But once you're inside, the experience is what changes you. And this is where he introduces the idea of the swamp versus the taste.
The swamp. I'm guessing that's our normal everyday life.
That's it. He argues that for 11 months of the year, we live in a swamp of routine, mistakes, and just superficiality. And the worst part isn't the swamp itself. It's that we become nose blind.
We don't smell it anymore.
We don't smell the swamp because we live in it.
Yes.
We think the swamp is just the world.
That makes a lot of sense. If everyone around you is in the same swamp, you don't realize you're dirty.
Exactly. So the fasting, the deprivation, it's a detox. It clears the senses. And suddenly, in that clarity, you get a taste.
A taste of what?
A fleeting moment of what he calls the sweetness of proximity to the divine.
And once you've tasted the champagne.
You can't go back to drinking the swamp water. That's the aha moment.
Yeah.
Al-Omari says you can't untaste it. The goal of the trap was just to get you to experience that alternative for a second.
So once you know that level of peace or connection exists, you will naturally hate the swamp.
Right. You don't need willpower anymore. You just prefer the light.
I really like that reframing. It's not about guilt, oh, you're a bad person for living in the swamp. It's more about upgrading your taste buds.
It's an intervention to rescue the human from being lost. Now, this transformation, it sounds like a very lonely journey, right? Just you, your hunger, your rusty lock.
Yeah, introspection usually is a solo sport.
But here's the twist. Station 4 in the book is all about the power of we. And Al-Omari takes a hard look at the concept of the elite and just completely redefines it.
When I hear elite, I'm thinking Forbes list, influencers, you know, the 1%.
The people on magazine covers, Al-Omari says, no, that's fake news, a distraction. He points to a different 1%.
Okay.
He talks about the people who wake up before dawn when the entire world is dark and asleep to stand together and pray.
The 4.0 a.m. club, but spiritual.
But notice the distinction. The Silicon Valley 4.0 a.m. club is all about hustle, productivity, me. Yeah. This group, it's about submission. He talks about Jama, or collective prayer.
That's when people pray together in a group, shoulder to shoulder.
Yes, moving in perfect unison. And he argues that when you do this, something happens to your ego. It dissolves into the we. He claims this makes the individual the strongest person in the world.
How so?
Because you aren't just you against your problems anymore. You're part of this massive collective immunity. It's fascinating because we live in such a hyper-individualistic society. Do you live your truth?
And he's saying true power comes from blending into the group.
In this specific context, yes. He redefines the elite, not as those who are most visible, but those who are most disciplined when no one is watching. It democratizes greatness. You don't need $1 million to be in this 1%.
You just need the discipline to wake up.
Literally wake up.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the final and honestly the most stressful part of the book.
Okay.
Station 5, the ticking clock.
The hourglass.
Al-Omari is very, very clear. This door doesn't stay open forever. The month is an hourglass, and you cannot pause the sand. He describes the end of the month, the festival of Eid, not just as a party.
What is it then?
It's the door of the delivery room.
Okay, so if the month is the pregnancy, then Eid is the birth.
And this is where he drops the hammer. He says there are only 2 outcomes in this delivery room.
And I'm guessing neither of them is I'm the same, just a bit hungrier.
No. Outcome 1, you are born. You exit as a new human, cleansed, with a new perspective on the swamp.
And outcome 2.
You exit as a dead fetus.
Whoa, that is incredibly dark. A dead fetus.
This brutal imagery. I remember reading that and just physically flinching. But he uses that shock on purpose.
I'll say.
He's saying, imagine being given this perfect environment for growth, the nutrients, the time, the protection, and you simply fail to develop. You haven't just wasted time. You failed to launch. You are spiritually stillborn.
It circles right back to the beginning. If you didn't smash the rusty lock, if you just bought the groceries and watched the shows, nothing grew inside.
Exactly. You played house instead of building a home. But for those who are born, for the survivors, he offers a roadmap for what comes next. Because a newborn is fragile. It needs a manual.
And that manual is the Quran. But he has a specific issue with how people use it, doesn't he?
A huge issue. He says, stop treating the holy book like a math problem. I read 20 pages today. I read 50 tomorrow.
Gamifying your spirituality.
Yes, turning it into a high score. Al-Omari says, don't count the pages. Navigate by them. Treat it as a permanent roadmap for this new life you've just stepped into. Because if you go back to the swamp without a map, you'll sink.
This whole thing just reframes the entire experience. It's not a checklist of rituals. It's a life or death struggle for spiritual existence.
It is. And the outro of the book leaves us with one final metaphor that just haunts me. He talks about trivial grass.
Trivial grass. What does he mean by that?
He warns against living a life where you grow and die like the grass over a grave, leaving no trace, no impact, no meaning, just biology.
Wow.
He says physical birth is involuntary. We all did that. But spiritual birth, that is a choice. And if you don't choose it, you're just grass growing and dying in the wind.
That puts a lot of pressure on this delivery room moment.
It should. It's meant to shake the reader out of complacency.
So to recap this whole journey, we started with a text message. Do not open the door. Because we were stuck in the consumer season. We had to smash a rusty lock to get into the heart. We realized hunger was a trap to save us from the swamp. We joined the real elite in the dark and hopefully arrived at the delivery room alive.
That's the journey, and Al-Omari leaves the reader with one final question, and I think we should leave our listener with it too.
What is it?
The question is simply, have you been born yet?
Not, are you alive?
No, you can be breathing and be dead. He's asking, have you broken the chains? Have you found the newborn inside of you? Because the door is there, the trap is set, but you have to be the one to smash the lock.
That is a heavy question to carry around today. Have you been born yet? I'm going to need a minute with that one.
Take your time. It's the only question that matters.
Thank you so much for guiding us through this. Those who have not been born yet, it really sounds like a book that demands to be felt, not just read.
Absolutely. It's a wake-up call in paperback form.
And to you listening, thanks for diving deep with us. Whether you're preparing for a spiritual season or just trying to figure out why you feel stuck in your own personal swamp, we hope this gave you a spark to break some locks. We'll see you in the next deep dive.